Man, this is Deion Dawkins, man, and you're listening to The Scoop on OurScoop.com. You already know.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Scoop, the weekly podcast of OurScoop.com, the authority on Temple athletics. We are officially on to season 11, first episode of season 11 of The Scoop. I am your host, John DiCarlo. We've got a full house today. Jason Yevis, Ryan Mack, Colin Schofield, and Kyle Gauss. Got a lot of preseason football camp to talk about. First practice on Wednesday this week. There are going to be 9 practices open to the media in their entirety. There's another one tomorrow on Saturday that's open to the media. We'll have coverage for you of that one as well. Got some mailbag questions to address. The American Athletic Conference is tightening up the tournament field. Got a few scenarios to ponder, football-related scenarios to ponder, and on around the state. Entering our 11th season, the Scoop is brought to you, as always, by Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured while on the road or the highway and the crash was someone else's fault, the insurance company will not be on your side. You need us, Temple Law grads, who will fight hard to get the compensation that you deserve. We only get paid if we win. So in Pennsylvania or New York, call us today at 215-261-7359. It's 215-261-7359. And you can find them on the web at greenspans-law.com. It's greenspans-law.com. Did you guys miss me at all last week or no? You can be honest.
I was just thinking to myself, like, when was the last time we recorded? Because when you said, oh, the American Athletic Conference tightened up the tournament, I thought you were going to talk about the name. I was like, oh, they tightened up the name. And then it occurred to me that I didn't even notice that we didn't speak last week. But yeah, I missed you. How's everybody doing? It felt like football this morning. Went outside, dropped the kids off at daycare. It felt like 64, 65 degrees.
Yeah, a little cooler.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like you were walking into a bowl of soup.
No.
So that's good. That's a plus. What do we think of that new American logo, that bird?
Oh, the mascot. So there's not a new logo, right?
Oh, yeah, the mascot, yeah.
Whatever. Like, is there going to be, when Hooter has his birthday, is the American Eagle going to be there?
I mean, he should be.
Are they calling it the American Eagle? Like the clothing brand?
Yeah, just
I don't know if that's the right thing to do right now.
Oh, I don't know this. What's the American Eagle controversy?
What? Yeah, I have no idea either. What's going on?
Well,
Sydney Sweeney. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Sydney Sweeney is going to be on the Scoop next week to discuss it. So,
White House slams liberal outrage over Sydney Sweeney jeans commercial. Okay, that's enough of that. That sounds like a Mad Libs for like a headline.
Like I said, she's going to be on the Scoop next week, and we'll get into that. Till we talk to Sydney Sweeney about this, let's talk about Wednesday's first preseason camp practice. So Temple's players reported to Edberg-Olson Hall Tuesday for camp, had their first preseason camp practice Wednesday. Like I said, one of 9 that are going to be open to the media in their entirety. The team's going to have a local media day Thursday, August 21st. And then before you know it, Casey Keeler's first weekly press conference of the season. Those Monday pressers, his first one's going to be Monday, August 25th at 12:30. Colin, Ryan, you guys were there. Looks like the quarterbacks had good days. Again, we can throw all the standard qualifiers in there. No pads, first day, a lot of work left ahead of them. But tell us what you guys saw. It sounds like the quarterbacks and the receivers were sharp. Who stood out to you? What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an offensive showing from the first day. I mean, Casey Keeler called the practice average, which, it was the first day, and it felt like 200 degrees out on that turf. So, I can understand it's like first day, all that stuff, but the offense looked really good. Gevani McCoy, especially, I think his arm looked really impressive. There was some zip on the ball, really tight spiral to receivers. And then Jojo Bermudez, for me, at wide receiver, was like immediately jumping off the page. He was consistently getting open downfield, had 2 or 3 deep balls from both Gevani McCoy and Evan Simon, and just looked overall the part of somebody who's going to make this wide receiver room look so much better. And we just didn't see that kind of showing from the offense in the spring, I think. So I think it's encouraging to see that from the first practice, from the wide receivers and from the quarterbacks.
What was Casey's line? We're not here to just be okay. He said that in the spring too, right?
Yeah.
There's some familiar Casey stories. I know I don't want to make fun of him for repeating stories because I know Kyle's going to swoop in and say, "Hey,
You've
you're
gotten worse. You're like before it used to be you tell the same story, and now it's you like slightly like retcon the story into like something else. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I was there. I remember this. So that's fine. But yes, you and Casey Keeler, similar age brackets, starting to do some of the same things.
Jay and Ryan just raised their eyebrows. Ryan, what did you see?
Kind of just like piggybacking off of Colin, the offense looked great. It kind of reminds me of kind of like the opposite. It's usually like the saying, if the offense has a good day, it's a good practice. Casey did not feel that way. As we talked about, he said it was just okay, just average. Evan Simon also co-signed on that while also saying it looked so much like night and day compared to the first practice of spring ball. But my main thing was just how comfortable him and Gevani McCoy looked, like just running the offense. We've always talked about how like Evan Simon's like moxie and his leadership when he's under center, and then it takes a shift down when there's another quarterback under there. But it kept that same level when Gevani McCoy was back there. He had a connection with Jojo Bermudez. Another wide receiver that was stuck out to me was Ramir Hardy, the freshman, who's
Mhm.
coming like right away. He was running with the twos Wednesday, which like was something that I really wasn't expecting to see. He really stood out, had a good connection with both Evan and Giovanni. Georgia Bermudez, as Colin said, had catches from both McCoy and Evan Simon. And even Tyler Douglas kind of stuck out a little bit. He had a
Yeah, I
really
was
good
going to ask you that. It sounds like he looked sharp too, and didn't get to play much in the spring because of his injury. It sounds like he stuck out a little bit as well.
He looked much improved, honestly. I think the main thing that we kind of talked about, like his legs are there, but sometimes his arm isn't. He had some really good throws, some zip on the ball. One really good one was one to Keon Johnson that went over Brandon Taylor. That looked good when they're doing 7-on-7. So it was kind of like a good day from the offense, something that we really weren't used to seeing compared to spring ball when it was usually the defense had its way with the offense for most of it.
I think Colin, or I think both of you guys, Colin, I think in your story too, you mentioned that Terez Worthy looked pretty sharp. But initially, back in the spring, I feel like we were getting the vibe. Now, Casey has since talked about this. Terez Worthy is good to go. It looked like at one point that maybe he wasn't going to be completely ready for the start of camp, but he is. He obviously gives them a burst. And then Ian Stewart was out there. I mean, Ian Stewart has obviously just had just one dose of bad luck after another with foot injuries and then a really bad quad tear that was really hard to deal with. So those two guys are back out there. What did you see from them? Again, it's one day, but you guys wrote about them. What did you see from those guys?
I mean, Therese like showed the speed, and Casey said in the press conference after how important it was to have him back for the offense with that speed, and he showed it. He showed, I think at the end of the first like full team period, he had a run that he bounced outside for a first down. You could just see the burst once he got to the outside. Like it was evident that his speed is a difference maker. And then even out of the backfield, he had a couple catches. I think in the 7-on-7, and then in the second full team period, he had a couple catches, looked sharp, looked himself. And then Ian Stewart, I think he had one pretty good catch or one good route for a catch in the 7-on-7. He was still wearing the gray jersey.
Mhm.
So I don't know if he participated. I don't think he was in the full team drills, but was doing like the individual drills in the 7-on-7 and looked like he was pretty much fully back, which is encouraging for a guy who could help this wide receiver again, especially being, a returning single digit and a guy that they were probably going to rely on last year and could rely on again this year. So I was happy with both of them in the first day of camp. I think we're going to see Ian Stewart get ramped up and hopefully be a big part of this offense. And Terez Worthy's speed is just otherworldly when you see it in like on the field.
Whether it's Ian Stewart, which I still think he can help this team, or whether it's Ramir Hardy, I think they're pretty adamant on still developing another big receiver because you have Holloway who's 6'4". Pretty much every other receiver that they're going to rely on this year is like 6 foot and below. Like
Yeah.
JoJo Bermudez is 5'9", Colin Chase is 6 foot, Tyler Stewart 5'9", Antonio Jones like 5'10". Like they need another big body receiver. So that maybe is why there's a window open for somebody like Ramir Hardy. Or in an ideal world, Ian Stewart is finally able to get that full season, a healthy season, and is able to kind of provide that target for him.
again, this is going to be an ongoing conversation. We've got another, pretty much a month left, or actually 29 days now until the August 30th season opener up at UMass. What other questions need to be answered for you guys in terms of the position groups? And there's a lot to cover. Is it the pass rush? Is it the offensive line? Where else are you guys curious about heading into this month?
Yeah, I mean, I think the offensive line's still the obvious one, and I think it's kind of refreshing to hear Casey Keeler just pretty bluntly say, "Hey, everybody we brought in during the summer is probably just a depth guy. Like we really are relying on those like top seven that we were developing." I'm just curious as to who goes what, or who goes where, and who does what. Like, is Luke Watson still an outside guy? Is he shifting inside? Is Grayson's main? He's probably going to stay at center, but this guy like Chris Smith, is he going to push for a guard position, or is he just going to be the backup center? So like, I think it's pretty easy to kind of maybe pinpoint the top 7 or 8, which apparently also includes the development of Jacoby Hills. So I think it's easy to kind of pinpoint those 7 or 8, but I don't necessarily know for sure sitting here today, 29 days out, who goes to what position.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me with the offensive line, and I think it was definitely refreshing to hear Casey Keeler just speak on it and just be like, all right, like these aren't who we're looking for to be out there, come week one, but continuing to develop them, I think is going to be important, and I think the depth especially, I think so many times like maybe it wasn't as bad as last year, but 2 years ago, just the lack of offensive line depth, or lack of offensive line health, I should say, and them constantly shuffling in different players, and just the different offensive line every week was difficult. So I really want to see what that looks like, especially with the injuries just always on the horizon.
Again, put that 2 years ago in perspective. Chevy Trask went from offensive line week 3,
Gosh.
defensive line week 4, back to offensive line.
Yeah.
It's like boom, boom, boom. Like they had no depth 2 years ago. So at the very least, they've addressed that.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, that might have worked with a guy. Not that he jumped around that much. Remember Brian Carter?
Brian Carter. I mean, he just made
That was more like an off-season thing, though, right? He wasn't.
He made the switch from defensive tackle to like right guard and like became like a starter at right guard.
Yeah.
That was just like during the offseason, which is fine. Like you can do that. The midweek just being like we don't have the bodies to play offensive line this week. You need to go back over is insane.
Yeah, I guess they're not in a bad place if they're looking at Luke Watson. They say, okay, we like this guy. Hey, if Diego Barajas does what he's supposed to do, and Kevin Terry does what he's supposed to do, we'll keep him inside, which is great. But if one of those guys falters, or if God forbid they get hurt or something, then he has, he can be a swing tackle. You pop him out there, and that sounds, again, we'll see, but it sounds like a better place to be than like, yeah, we're looking for our best 5. We don't know who those guys are yet, and so again, on August 1st, sounds like a better place for them to be. I thought I would throw a few scenarios at you guys and have a little fun with this. 3 different
We're
scenarios.
role playing. Okay.
Yeah. Kyle swivels in his chair and stretches his shoulders out.
It was no swiveling. It was all upper body.
Yeah, I don't know if role playing is the term to use
It
in
was
that
my
moment.
intended term.
Who am I to stop you? Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. Scenario number 1. What's more likely? Jay Ducker runs for 1,000 yards this season, or Gevani McCoy is the starter by week 5 in the conference opener against UTSA?
Out of all the scenarios, I think this is one that could be both possible, but I think Gevani McCoy is the starter by week 5 by far. I just think you can't take anything from one practice, but I do kind of feel like that they're going to have Evan on a short leash. And not the minute he starts kind of like struggling, but when he starts struggling, and if it's for a prolonged period of time, they're going to pull the plug and put Gevani in. I see that being less than like a month into the season. So Gevani McCoy being the starter would not shock me by week 5.
Anybody agree or disagree with that?
I agree, but I'm going in a different direction with why I agree. And I think it's just because of the versatility in the running back room. And I think that was something that they talked about, just the, having multiple options there where you have a Joquez Smith, you have a Terez Worthy who can be, moved around in a bunch of, different positions and play a bunch of different roles. I think because of that versatility in the running back room, I don't think there's a good chance that Jay Ducker still can get 1,000 yards, but I do think, you're naturally spreading the ball around to more options and you get less yards.
I'll also agree with that, but also take another like a little bit different direction where I think the offensive line is still too much of a question mark for me to confidently say that I think Jay Ducker can run for 1,000 yards. Like Kyle, I think you talked about it last time we recorded how Jay Ducker's success will hinge on the offensive line as opposed to Terez Worthy, who's able to get outside and get yards kind of based on his speed and like agility, as opposed to Jay Ducker, who needs like the offensive line to really get up the middle and do like the power rusher. And I still think that we just saw the offensive line's like kind of the biggest position group question mark right now. And so for me to sit here and confidently say Jay Ducker can get 1,000 yards, just I don't think is realistic right now. And I can see Gevani McCoy, like Ryan said. I think Evan Simon will have a bit of a shorter leash. And so I think we can see Gevani McCoy definitely by week 5 as the starter against UTSA.
I think I agree. I mean, if you ask me right now who starts game one, I'm like pretty confident it's Evan Simon, despite the fact they've only had like 2 practices. It just feels like the way that the tea leaves are going. But I would agree that I think he probably has a pretty short leash. I think it's easy sometimes for people to think like, oh, well, they'll have a package for McCoy or whatever. I don't think that'll be the case. I think it's when you're a true backup quarterback like that, you have to learn the full game plan. So it's hard to kind of also be like, here's these 10 plays you're going to learn. I think it's more likely that you have Tyler Douglas have a package. But if Evan Simon struggles, by the time conference play comes around, it would not surprise me if Gevani McCoy is there. For the 1,000-yard rushing for Jay Ducker, I think it's also easy to look at Montana State and be like, they had 3 1,000-yard rushers last year. Obviously, one of them is Tommy Mellott, who is a unicorn. But 2, they also played 16 games, right? Like if Temple plays 16 games, then there's a parade coming down Broad Street, right? Like it's a huge other thing. So if Temple plays 12 games, everything breaks right. 13 games for him to get to 1,000 is a harder hurdle to leap over than to do it in 16 games. So I would agree that McCoy is more likely. It wouldn't surprise me if Jay Ducker rushes for 1,000 yards, but I think McCoy is the more likely scenario.
Just to be clear, Kyle outlined a scenario in which Temple is in the college football playoff and wins the national championship.
Yeah, so there would be like in that scenario, if they play 16 games, yeah, Jay Ducker probably rushed for 1,000 yards.
Kevon Mason may be like a wild card here. Like what we've talked in the past about, if you look at the positions on the roster where it might be, relatively speaking, the easiest for a true freshman to catch up pretty quickly, it could be there. Again, we'll see. There are a lot of things that they could do with this new offense. They could be throwing the ball in the backfield a little bit more, but yeah, it sounds like they have some options there. So
as always, what's the main thing that keeps freshman running backs off the field?
pass protection.
Pass protection. So like it's how quickly can he get up to speed in pass pro? Because guess what? They can all run the ball. They're all able to hit gaps in high school. It's the pass pro aspect.
Yeah. Scenario number 2. What's more likely? Colin Chase finishes with 60 receptions or Tyrese Whitaker finishes with double-digit sacks. And again, for context there, when I talked to Casey Keeler a couple months ago, I didn't say, hey, Tyrese, tell me about Tyrese Whitaker. Do you think he can be a double-digit sack guy? Just asked him, hey, you've been pretty upbeat about the defensive line. And Casey Keeler said, hey, typically when you look at a program that is coming off 4 consecutive 3-9 seasons, you don't think that the defensive line or either line is going to be a strength for you. And he said, we just started looking at the defensive line. Some guys need to change of scenery. Tyrese Whitaker has really popped, and he said he needs to be a double-digit sack guy for us. He can be a double-digit sack guy for us. And I wrote this a few days ago. On one hand, Casey Keeler said, hey, my daughter likes to tease me and says I'm a pretty optimistic guy. So maybe this is, I think I wrote unfettered optimism on his part. But Casey Keeler sent guys to the NFL. He's not this young first-time head coach who like puts guys in a box and then says, oops, I shouldn't have done that. But Casey Keeler believes that Tyrese Whitaker, a guy who has 1 sack in his career, could potentially be a double-digit sack guy. So with that context, what's more likely? Colin Chase finishes with 60 receptions or Tyrese Whitaker at that rush edge position as an outside linebacker finishes with double-digit sacks?
Preface this by saying, even before the public comments from Evan Simon and Casey Keeler, like I've been hearing nothing but positive things about Colin Chase.
Yeah.
That being said, you are laying out a scenario where a guy who last year played in non-scholarship FCS Pioneer League and caught 39 passes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is going to play in an offense where nobody in 16 games last year caught more than 42 passes.
Mm-hmm.
And is going to have 60 catches, which would be the 7th most in Temple history.
Should we
That's
bump
the
it down
scenario you're laying out.
Should we bump it down to 50? Let's bump it down to 50.
if Tyrese Whitaker has double-digit sacks, then they're going to be clawing to hold on to him during the offseason.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
that would be a monster development for him, for a guy that was pretty highly recruited that just hasn't had a chance to get his feet wet yet. And I still think that's the more likely scenario between the two.
If we bumped it down to 50 for Colin Chase, do you still feel the same way?
I think I still do. 50 would be like the 11th most in Temple history. I just think like in a 12 game season, it seems like everyone always has this NFL mindset of like, well, the Eagles get multi-thousand-yard receivers, blah
Yeah,
blah. In
yeah.
college football, it's usually like you saw it last year with Dante Wright. It's like one guy a lot of times gets the bulk of these catches.
Hmm.
Is Colin Chase going to all of a sudden be that guy? Maybe. I'm hearing nothing but good things about him, but
Yeah.
I think that bridge too far. I also don't want to set the guy up for failure. If he goes out and has 35 catches, that's probably still a pretty successful season
Yeah.
for what they got for him.
Let's put it at 50. Good course correction there on Kyle's part. Colin Chase finishes with 50 receptions, or Tyrese Whitaker finishes as a double-digit sack guy. Kyle's going with Tyrese Whitaker. Anybody else want to weigh on this one?
Yeah, I'm also going with Tyrese Whitaker. I think just the step up of competition from where Chase was last year to now is would be substantial to like come in and make that impact. And in the same vein, I think you mentioned just the confidence of Casey Keeler and Tyrese Whitaker, and I think that like definitely means something, especially to have, Casey Keeler say that about you in the short period of time.
Although I did have to chuckle last week when our friend Javon Edmonds reappearing on Al Scoop, talked to KC, got some one-on-one time with him. He called Colin Chase. He was like, he was the steal of the draft.
Yeah, it's a good phrase.
I gotta chuckle all that. So he's also
I think then Evan Simon used like a similar quote.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They're just rehearsing their quotes before press conferences. Colin, Ryan, anybody, you guys want to weigh in on this one, or should we go on to scenario number 3?
I'll weigh in real quick. I'll also say Tyrese Whitaker. I mean, if you were at the spring practices and watched him, like even beyond what like KC said, everyone was saying about him, like just watching him in spring practice, it was clear like he looked like he was very, very poised for a breakout this year. Like he just looked so confident and was playing so well, even when it was just like, regular spring practice. And then with Colin Chase, like in the offense, where I think it could be more of a rushing focused offense, where maybe there's only 15 pass attempts per game sometimes. If it's more of a run focused Tyler Walker offense, it'll be hard to reach 60 or 50 receptions if it's more of a run volume offense. So I think both would be, obviously incredible seasons for either, and it'd be tough to keep both guys if those happen. But I think the Tyrese Whitaker finishing with double digit sacks is more likely for me.
I also think that it's more likely that Tyrese Whitaker gets double-digit sacks. I don't think it's going to happen. I think if anything, he'll get like 8 or 9. I am really impressed with what he has been able to do during spring ball. Casey Keeler is really excited for him. I just with the scheme that Brian Smith is running coming in, they weren't a defense like that one person stacked up most of the sacks at Rice. It was more so like a lot of people got like 3 or 4. That's kind of my reasoning. I do think he can get it, just with the way with the scheme. I just see it more getting capped out like 8 or 9.
Quincy Roche, last Temple player to get double-digit sacks. That was in 2019, correct?
correct.
2019. And, I think we've talked about this before. Kyle, I think, talked about it in the previous pod that, again, Brian Smith had some pretty underrated defenses at Rice. Hasn't had a double-digit sack guy before. It doesn't mean that he can't have one in the future. Scenario number 3, this is me more so kind of trying to impersonate one of the mailbag questions that we get. So this is zooming out a little bit more. Scenario number 3, what's more likely? Temple football finishes 6-6 and goes to a bowl game, or Temple men's basketball goes to the NCAA tournament in year 3 of the Adam Fisher era?
I think the former. And it has nothing to do I mean, I guess that has something to do with the talent levels of teams, but the only scenario that I see Adam Fisher making the tournament is if they win the American. Like they have to win the American tournament. And you can be a 6-6 team and be like the 7th best team, 8th best team in the conference. So I would say the former.
We'll co-sign on that, or going a different.
Yeah, I'm also going in the same direction. I think like Temple men's basketball needs to have a run where they're fully bought in, they're fully, believing that whatever Adam Fisher is selling them, and they go out there and just dominate the American Athletic Conference tournament and have a crazy run, and it leads them to the tournament. And I think especially the confidence and the mentality that Casey Keeler has kind of stepped into with this whole program. I think that something that stood out to me when I was listening back to, his presser was the I have no interest in being realistic. And I think that mentality of like, oh, like I want players that are unrealistic was like honestly like really impressive to like for me to like look at him. Okay, like I see where he's coming from like with this. So I think like that mentality alone, like I think you could, coming in and also just our goals have to be much higher than being better than last year. And I think like that mentality and just the confidence that he's putting into the team, I think they could go out and win 6 games before men's basketball makes the tournament.
Again, just to put in context, 82 teams last year were bowl eligible out
Yeah.
of what, 133 or whatever, compared
Mhm.
to 68 out of 370.
Yep.
That's that.
Colin, Ryan, any thoughts on this?
I'll just quickly echo both Jay and Kyle. I think it's Temple football. I think it's the American is for basketball is viewed obviously like a tier below. At this point, it's kind of viewed as a one bid league. And I think for Adam Fisher to take Temple to the NCAA tournament, they would either have to win the American Conference tournament, or they would have to
Tim
finish like
Pernetti thanks you for that.
or they would have to win like 26 or 27 regular season games, only have one or two non-conference losses and then one or two conference losses, which is something difficult to do with, regardless. So I think it's most realistic that Temple football can scratch out 6 wins in the first year of KC Keeler and, sneak into one of the lower tier bowl games as opposed to, Temple basketball going on a major run in the regular season or going on a major run if they sneak into the end of that conference tournament and getting into March Madness.
Ryan, are you brave enough to disagree here and go in a different direction?
I wish, but nah, I'm gonna go. I have Temple winning 6 games and making a bowl game before Adam Fisher takes the team to the NCAA tournament. I just kind of echoing kind of what Jay said, and also just I do think that this team kind of has the ability to. I have them winning 5 games this year anyway. It wouldn't shock me if like a break happens and they're able to like pull out 1 win. Maybe they beat a Navy on homecoming or something like that, or beat UTSA in that first conference game. So just that something like that just wouldn't shock me. I see them getting 6 wins.
Along those lines, decent segue here. We talked about what Temple would have to do, what Temple men's basketball team would have to do to get to the NCAA tournament in year 3 of the Adam Fisher era. So the American Conference is cutting both conference basketball tournament fields down to 10 teams. A few media outlets have reported that now. The Denton Record Chronicle, which covers North Texas, and of course the Memphis Commercial Appeal, which covers Memphis, are both reporting and confirming through a conference spokesperson that the league is cutting the fields, the men's and women's fields, from the full 13 team fields down to 10. So the bottom 3 teams wouldn't qualify for the tournament, and that will be starting this season. So it's not new. The Big Ten does this, and the ACC does this. What it will mean is that the first and second place teams. Now, this would be the interesting thing for Temple. Like, let's say they go on a run, they have a really good season, they stay healthy. Let's say Memphis and UAB aren't as good, or maybe they have some injuries. Let's say Temple is hanging around near the top of the standings. What it means, regardless, is that the first and second place teams in the regular season standings would go right to the conference tournament semifinals. And then meanwhile, the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th seeds would be the teams playing in the first round. The 5th and 6th seeds would get a first round bye. 3rd and 4th seeds would get double byes to the quarterfinals. So if this were in effect 2 years ago, Temple would have been the 10th and last team to sneak into the conference tournament when they went on that unlikely run to the
They were
conference
11th that year.
finals. Yeah, they were 11th. There were what, 4 or 5? No, 5 teams that were like
For
5 and
5 teams, there were 5 and 13. I
Yeah.
think Tulane got 10th because of some weird tiebreaker.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about this? You guys like this? Do you have any strong feelings about it at all, or do you think it's just Tim Pernetti saying, "Hey, we need to do what some of the other big leagues are doing here"?
So I don't have a strong opinion, but because it's a podcast, I'll pretend I have a strong opinion. I think it's stupid. Like the ACC and the Big Ten do this because they have 143 schools.
Right.
Like they each
Yeah.
have 18 schools each. It would be so long for them to put everybody in. The American has 14 teams.
Yeah.
you couldn't do the one extra day for that. Like I don't know. It seems to me that like if you want to look, I'm gonna say what I really think this is I think this is the American trying to do what some of the smaller conferences do, which is prevent any opportunity for Memphis to not make the tournament.
Mhm.
Like the last thing that they want is like a 11 seed Temple winning the championship, being a 16 seed in the tournament and getting stomped by Duke. It's the last thing the conference wants. They
Yep.
want Memphis to get as high of a seed as possible and kind of find its way in there. So like I think this just less darts thrown at the board, less opportunities for a 1 seed or a 2 seed to lose to a 11 seed.
On the flip side of it, though, I agree with you. On the flip side of it, though, doesn't that also kind of like spit in the face of what Tim Pernetti had told me, where he said we can't be a one bid league, we want to be a multi bid league? Is it counterintuitive to that feeling?
If Memphis is able to schedule out of conference stuff as well as it can, that it would still
Then
be
they
an
get in as
at-large
an at
bid, then
large. Yeah.
absolutely. But if you fast forward 4 years, Memphis is still just locked. It's staying in the conference for the kids. It's putting up with this broken marriage. If Memphis is still in the conference, and all of a sudden you see like what happens with Creighton and St. Mary's and all these schools when they were like the dominant school in their conference, and all of a sudden they can't really get those out of conference things more like that. Like that's when you start seeing those really small conferences really just like stack the deck to get their conference champion in. So in an ideal world, yeah, Memphis continues to schedule ACC level player teams and they get a good out conference schedule and they make the tournament no matter what. I'm not a soothsayer. I can't tell you what 2030 looks like for Memphis's out conference schedule.
I thought you were a soothsayer on the side.
I try. I dabble in soothsaying. Soothsaying.
The Monco medium.
Yeah. There's one up there on my way to Costco. I passed by a psychic. I'm like, don't really ever see people in this parking lot.
Anybody else have any strong feelings on this one?
It's so hard to get back on topic after something like that. You guys just do these like little side notes, and it's like, okay, like I had an opinion, but it doesn't even really matter anymore. I
Well,
was like,
John just
I
brought you
don't,
back in. He transitioned back to the
but
topic.
yeah, but it's still just awkward to be like, oh yeah, well, I mean, yes, if we're talking about basketball still, yeah, I mean, I guess like,
I'm sorry.
um,
Look, let's go on our tangent. I don't want this to be a sterile podcast. I don't. If he wants to just come in here and just talk about like, I think this guy's gonna play point guard, and I think this guy's a chance to average 12 and 10. I don't want to waste my time doing that. We have to have a little flavor into
We
it.
want Jay bringing his Ouija board to next
Yeah.
week's pod and saying like, took it seriously. I'm speaking to spirits.
Here's a Victorian child that died of consumption, and she also has strong opinions of the American Athletic Conference. The even though I call it the American Athletic Conference, the ghost of the Victorian child that died at like 8 knows that it's now the American Conference. When I was like 11, or must have been younger, 7, my sister like tried pranking me by like writing this like letter from a child that used to live at our house, and she dyed it in tea and made it look like it was this old school newspaper paper. And I got like really scared that like the ghost of the child was living in our house. Our house was built in 1987. There was no 1800s. She literally wrote like, I can hear the wagons coming and all this crap. I'm like, oh my God. I fell for it. Hook, line, sinker.
That's some pretty sinister stuff from Diane. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Don't put it past her.
I also wish I could go back in time and see you just like with this look on your face, like
I was like looking for my Game Boy Color and I found this like rolled up parchment. I'm like, oh my God.
did she really like
Did-
how long did she let you roll with this before she was like, I was just kidding?
I think it was like a day or two. Yeah. It wasn't like a year later. She's like, by the way, our house was built during the Reagan administration. Like, actually, yeah, Reagan administration.
Jay, what were you gonna say before?
Yeah, segue out of that.
see, look. I mean, like, I think I'm just like, I'm so like, I don't want to say traumatized. That's a bit dramatic, but like, I have to do it so much for on around the state where it's just like, okay, anyway. But I mean,
But
you
that
know,
segment itself lends itself to
yeah,
off the cuff.
that's fair. But it's just like sometimes I'm sitting there and I was like, I just don't know. Anyway, back to this. I do think like it does take a bit of the magic out of like having a deep team, or a lower seeded team, or a higher seeded team come in and just like, run the gauntlet and have an amazing run. But I mean, if that's the case, like you should have just play better than the actual regular season or better conference play, like to get yourself in a better position to do this. I think it's that simple, really.
If it's a scenario where it's like 1 through 10 clear cut, and then 11, 12, 13, they went like 1 and 17 and 2 and 16, they're just absolute garbage. Okay. 2 years ago, when the bottom 5 teams all had the exact same record, 4 of those teams aren't going to make it is insane to me because it's some like ninth tiebreaker that they established for all this. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, does it also hurt their media package? Like now you're putting less games in the postseason out there. Like, I don't know. I'm sure those were all factored in, but it's interesting development.
Before we jump into on or around this date, a couple of quick men's basketball recruiting notes to pass along. One of our new writers, Elias Meredith, caught up with Trent Edberg-Olson, who played at St. Francis Academy this past season. He's going to do a post-grad season at IMG. So if you are an owlscoop.com subscriber, you can read that story. Speaking of being an owlscoop.com subscriber, if you have not subscribed yet, now is a great time. If you sign up for Owlscoop today, you get it for $1 for the first week, and you also get a complimentary year of access to The Athletic. So really cool deal. Again, if you go to owlscoop.com, you can sign up there. We've been promoting this on Twitter. We've been promoting it on Instagram. So a great time to sign up between the Athletic deal and then, of course, all of our recruiting coverage and preseason camp coverage. So Temple also offered Marcellus. He goes by Cello Jackson. From the class of 2026. He already has a lot of offers: Penn State, Virginia Tech, Memphis, Seton Hall, and Cal. So you can see now who the staff liked after the summer live periods. And obviously, Derek Morton Rivera still remains a high priority for them out of Father Judge locally. So, but you can see some other names popping up now after those summer live periods. So we'll talk some hoops recruiting in the future as it gets closer to September, when you might see an official visit or two. Jay, on or around this date?
I'm your host, the one and only host. Obviously, Johnny Zwilzak isn't here, and for good reason, because I replaced him, and he knows that, and he's been scared of me ever since then. I've seen him multiple times since then, and he refuses to bring it up. So I think I firmly have scared him away from the scoop, and I like to believe that, even if he says otherwise.
So just to confirm,
Anyway,
Jason Yevis promotes a bullying culture, but we'll move on from that.
I consider character development. Like, I think there, to some degree, there's some of it. Is there extremes? Should there be boundaries set? Absolutely. But John, do you want to start with birthdays or events?
Go events.
On August 1st, 1981, this television network debuted.
What year again?
1981.
MTV, right?
I'm going to assume it's MTV.
It is MTV.
Yeah. Which, this song's actually, it's been my rotation, but what's the first song to play on MTV?
Video Killed the Radio Star?
Video Killed the Radio Star. It's been in my YouTube algorithm. Holds up.
Good song. Great song.
Next up, this iconic sports movie came out on August 1st, 1997. And they recently announced that they're doing a remake of it, I guess. I say it's probably only iconic for my generation, really. And for all the wrong reasons.
You weren't even alive when it came out.
Yeah, but like but it started a series, and then like the series became like, entertaining for my childhood.
1997.
This first one was a basketball movie.
Oh, Air Bud.
Air Bud.
Don't try to gatekeep Air Bud from me.
Nobody was trying to gatekeep Air
I was
Bud.
8 years old when Air Bud came out.
The guys that do the Ringers Fantasy Football podcast were talking about Air Bud and the sequels that came from it, and it was like they were trying to, without looking it up and cheating, they were saying it was like there was a second one, it was like Air Bud, like golden receiver instead, like
receiver. He played football at one point, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't play baseball, but that's when I think the realism like went out the window. Because like you could convince me that like a golden retriever can like catch an alley-oop and kind of boop it with its nose. You could might buy that. Football, catching balls. Dogs love catching balls. You're gonna tell me a golden retriever is gonna put a bat in his mouth and be able to hit a curveball? No, I don't think so. That's where too far.
Could Riggs?
Yeah.
No, Rick just sleeps all day.
Yeah.
I think that like the basketball and like the volleyball movies are like the most realistic. Like
Volleyball you could do. That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, like I 100% could see that, but
Especially,
football.
I can't remember anything about the volleyball one, but I imagine slash assume there's a scenario where he jumps off another person's back and like gets really high up. Like dogs can do that. That makes
There's no,
sense.
yeah, there's no way that didn't happen in the movie. That had to have been a
They're like,
scene.
oh
Like
no, the ball's too high, and then Bud just comes in, jumps off the little kid's back, propels himself up, spikes it. For
so
some reason, there's like a female cheerleader dog that's like is really like encouraged by the fact that Airbud just spiked this ball.
Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
in case anyone was wondering, there are 14 Air Bud movies.
14?
14?
Yeah.
14
So
different
okay,
sports? Are they all different sports?
so the first five are all sports movies, but then
Uh,
the rest on are like all of his I guess the offspring of
the
like
sixth
pups of
one is a
these.
murder investigation. They're
So
like
there's
in like we're at a dead end. We don't know what happened here. And they're like, we bring in the expert. And it's just him coming in, he's sniffing out clues.
Scotland Yard brings in an Airbud.
You're
yeah,
a
so
loose cannon there, but damn,
the
did you get
the
results?
first five are Air Bud, Air Bud Golden Receiver, Air Bud World Pup, Air Bud Seventh Inning Fetch, and then Air Bud Spikes Back. And then the rest are
Spikes,
all
Bud Spikes back is phenomenal.
and the rest are all like all of them in different places. So Air Buddies, Snow Buddies, Space Buddies, The Search for Santa Paws, Santa Paws 2, Santa Buddies,
You're
Spooky
gonna think I'm
Buddies.
crazy. I've seen the ad for Santa Buddies. Like I've seen that before, where it's like four of them, like we're gonna go meet Santa, and they're like little baby Airbuds. I've seen that trailer.
I like how you think that that's the reason why we think you're crazy. You're gonna think I'm crazy, but
Correct.
And then Treasure Buddies and Super Buddies. Super Buddies was the last one in
Treasure
2013.
buddies? They like go seek out like are they little pirates?
Disney invites you on a treasure hunting adventure with the buddies.
oh,
I bet you they're little pirates. I bet you one of them's holding like the big wheel, the big wooden wheel, and all of a sudden it starts spinning, and he's biting onto it, but it's just spinning him.
I mean that's just adorable.
Yes.
How do you?
Harmless.
I love seeing the movie posters for these movies because like there's and the Treasure Buddies one, there's like a camel and then like there's a dog with an Indiana Jones hat and stuff. Like you can clearly tell what they're going for.
See, now it's like okay, like they could just use AI, but like 5 years ago when those were made or 10 years ago, somebody went to college for that. Somebody went to college to learn Photoshop to Photoshop on a little party central like pirate hat onto a good Labrador retriever.
I love it. Well, that's a great start. That's awesome. What
Yeah.
else you got?
Okay.
Okay.
Next up, this second movie of an action comedy series came out on August 3rd, 2001.
2000, 200.
Yes,
That was-
2001.
Rush Hour? Yeah, Rush Hour 2.
Rush Hour 2.
I guessed Rush Hour last time too, and it
Yeah.
was not Rush Hour. But now,
Yeah,
now Rush Hour finally comes out.
I thought that was funny when I was ready because I wrote the same exact thing down that I did for Bad Boys too. And it applies, just different year. But yeah, we're gonna head over to birthdays now. This football player was born in Immokalee, Florida, and actually was recently inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Sterling Sharp?
No,
Antonio Gates.
no,
Did you say a year?
I did not say a year. I did not write that down. Give me a sec.
1917.
Absolutely not. It was a lot more recent than that. 1978. August 1st, 1978 was recently inducted into the Hall of Fame.
78. So he played in the 90s in college.
Poor job by us. They literally just had
Warren Sapp.
No,
Jared Allen.
no. He went to Miami.
Clinton Portis.
No,
Oh, Andre Johnson.
no.
Bro. Have we ever not?
Ed Reed.
No.
No.
He was drafted by the Colts, fourth
Edgerrin
overall.
James.
In the
Edgerrin James.
Edgerrin
Yeah,
James.
there we go.
His son didn't his son play like Southern Miss
Oh.
a couple years ago? There was an Edgerrin James
And
Jr.
Temple offered his son, didn't they?
Sure. Oh no, Edgerrin James Jr. plays for Cincinnati. He plays basketball. Jizzle James.
Jizzle James. That's got to be
I thought he had a son that played running back. Eden James is the son of Edgerrin James. He is plays for an HBCU. He plays for Howard.
Okay.
Okay.
So we had
Next.
17 guesses before we got that one.
Yeah, I was honestly really disappointed because that was like really recently that he
Was
got
offered by Temple, offered by Gabe Infante.
I thought it was someone that came in this year. I was so confused for a second.
Dante Collinelli in 2021 wrote Temple and Play for Eden James. He wrote an article. We interviewed him.
There we go.
Okay. Second birthday. This professional wrestler was born on August 1st, 1979, and was a part of an iconic tag team right in the backyard of Philadelphia. Or, yeah, it was in a big brand in Philadelphia. So
You guys are the wrestling guys. I got no clue.
silence is it's killing me.
I was gonna say the Hardy Boys, but they're from Raleigh, North Carolina. So
They had a bunch of iconic matches with the Hardy Boys.
Dudleys.
Which
Well, the
one?
Dudleys, is it
All right.
No.
Devon?
Devon Dudley.
get the tables.
Okay. Get the tables. And the final birthday, this movie director was born on August 2nd, 1939, and was known for directing two separate horror movie franchises.
What franchises?
I can't say which one, but horror
No,
movie
no, wait,
franchises.
what did you describe the franchises as?
Horror movie franchise?
Horror
Horror
movie
movie.
franchises.
Oh, horror is not my thing.
1939?
Even if it's not your thing, I think you probably would have seen any
I
of
remember
these.
Kyle saying several weeks ago, he's like, "Are you a horror movie guy, Jay? You bring up horror movies a lot."
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone that's listening has realized like Jay likes wrestling and horror movies. Like those have come up a fair amount.
The first movie franchise he directed, or horror movie franchise that he would have directed was Nightmare on Elm Street.
So who directed?
And then he directed Scream.
Okay, Scream.
Wes
Scream I've seen.
Craven? No,
Wes Craven. Wes Craven.
it is Wes Craven. Okay.
Perfect last name for the job. Or
Definitely.
maybe the worst name for the job. Like he's scared all the time, but like he's trying to scare you.
If you would ask me what year was Wes Craven born, I would not have said 1939. I don't know anything about anything on this, but I just didn't know. Is Wes Craven still
That would
alive?
have made him. That would have made him like 58 for Scream. Like that.
Yeah,
makes
he had
sense.
passed away like 2013, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Our condolences. Didn't know. 12 years later.
Well, that's gonna do it for everyone around this date. Very awkward closing, but yeah, that's my portion of this.
Our very best.
Oh,
to
he
the
did.
Craven
He
family.
did Red Eye. It was Rachel McAdams, Cillian Murphy. They were on like a plane. I remember that.
I haven't seen that, but I heard it's just crazy.
I remember it being a little wild. I believe he's like they get the plane down, but he still follows her to her house, and I think she kills him there. It's a whole thing.
Let's jump into the mailbag as we do each week. We hear a weekly tip from our friend Mike Greenspan of Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers. He's the best injury lawyer you could hope to have, but he wants to keep you safe on the roads and in life. So here is his weekly tip, and then we will hop into the mailbag to answer your questions.
Why is it important to give truckers a break? We've all been there. We're on the interstate, we're stuck in traffic, and you're behind a truck. Your natural inclination is get out of your lane, get in front of that truck, and get it behind you. Well, that's understandable. You got to remember, when you cut in front of a truck, it's not so easy for them to stop as it is for you when you're driving a car. So, the next time you're out on the roadway and you're about to pass a truck, give them some room. Remember, most of these are guys. Many of them are driving long hours for not so great pay, and it's hard on them. Give them a break and they'll appreciate it. Let them get home safe to their families, just as you want to.
My first question comes from Twitter, from the Twitter handle OffTheHook3. Let's say something got in the drinking water and all of the Temple alumni decided to donate money to the university to help buy their way into the ACC or any P4 conference. How much money do you think they would need to raise?
This is obviously based on the Memphis failed aspect. I think it's important to know for the Memphis thing that $200 million was not like Memphis being like, here's $200 million. It was like FedEx promising we'll buy ads for that amount over the course of this, whatever. If it's just like a cold cash here, 2025, we want this thing, I think they'd have to like do like $250 million and then also do the SMU thing of we're not going to take media like revenue payout for X amount of years as well. Like it's just nothing but like zero risk thing, which Memphis tried presenting itself as zero risk. I think there was an anonymous quote from one of the ADs or the presidents being like, we didn't want to take Memphis 3 years ago. Why do we want to take them now? Like there's no value add there. So I think that works against you. If you're a Temple fan, if you're a Memphis fan, the best case scenario you can imagine is 5 years from now, the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC take who they want from the ACC, and then the ACC is crap. We got to add 9 teams, and here comes Temple.
Yeah, I mean that's very well said. I don't think there's anything else to add to that one. Second question, Kyle. This is for you. Topic of the day from our friend Sean. I'll be back, excuse me. Why did Kyle get his account suspended? And if you could add any former Temple out to this current football team, who would it be and why? So, Kyle, tell us about why your Twitter account was suspended. You've explained this to us, but explain to listeners why you are currently in Twitter jail, and then we'll get to the second part of Sean McGee's question.
It's not an exciting story. I'd like to say I got caught like riding dirty or like being like too outspoken against Elon Musk. But in reality, in today's day and age, everyone's always trying to get into your account. Somebody from Brazil got into my account during the middle of the night when I was camping up in the Poconos. I got a notification. I went in, I changed my password. During that time, they had stripped my phone number out of it. So it said, hey, you need to add a phone. So I added my own phone number back to it. Somehow that must have triggered some bull crap on Twitter's end about me being a suspicious account. So they banned me. I filed an appeal. Still haven't heard anything. When you Google it, apparently X's appeals are handled by bots. So I'm not super optimistic that I'm getting back my account. I will say on record, if my account goes away, there's not going to be a Kyle Gauss too. I'm John Chaney. Excuse me while I fade away. Like you might find like a lurker account just so I can follow the same stuff, but I will not be posting anymore. Because let me tell you, for the last 4 or 5 days, I've had to use the AlScoop account just to see Twitter. For AlScoop historians, there was a stretch where John basically used that account as his personal account for like a long time. So the timeline is garbage. It's so bad. I've unfollowed so many people. If you, in your mind, were like, before August of 2025, I was followed by AlScoop and now I'm not, it was me. I unfollowed you. Because there are people on there like, this is not what AlScoop should not be following these people. Like Jim Rome. I'm sorry, Jim Rome. If you're out there and you're wondering why your follower count went down by 1, first cut. You were the first cut. I don't care what Jim Rome has to say about these things. It doesn't factor into AlScoop. So it's been awful. It's been very bad.
Was that
Like,
yesterday we were talking about that? I had no idea the AlScoop account was following Jim Rome.
every news outlet in the Mid-Atlantic was followed by AlScoop at some point, including like small newspapers and places that no. All these things going away. Done. I'm trying to whittle down that account so I can at least use it. It's been awful. But all of a sudden, if you get like JDC 69420 following you on Twitter, that's me as a lurker. But yeah, not an exciting story. It's really pissed me off, and I really want this. I've tried to file another appeal, and they're like, we're still reviewing your first appeal. But thanks, random guy in Brazil that thought he'd get access to God knows what, finding my Twitter.
That was good.
Moral of the story is turn on dual factor authentication, because if I had had that, they would not have gotten into my account.
That did not disappoint. Second part of Sean's question: if you could add any former Temple Owl to this current football team, who would it be and why? I mean, how far do you go back? Is it more current?
I have an answer, but I don't want to keep taking the first response if people have one queued up.
Who wants to go first while Kyle cools down?
See, I don't have naturally a lot of like historic, performances or players to go off of.
Having said that, you're going to suggest Pop Warner.
No, I think like a big like safety target across the middle, and like a David Martin Robinson would always be great. He's one of the few players that I fondly, have good memories of watching Temple. So yeah.
I think the most disruptive force in college football is a dominant defensive tackle.
Mhm.
So if you could add Muhammad Wilkerson to this defense and he can just like destroy American Athletic Conference offensive lines, I think that would go a long way in boosting this team's future.
We were talking about earlier this team having, needing like another bigger wide receiver. So I think I'll add Robbie Chosen or Chosen Anderson, whatever he goes by now.
Gosh.
Love it.
Look, if Evan Simon wants bombs over Baghdad, that Robbie Anderson once had a quote in the NFL where he said the hardest route to learn is the go route, because like you can't teach speed. Like I'm just gonna run a straight line. They'd have bombs over Baghdad with Robbie Anderson. Just chuck it deep.
Yeah, I'll add Robbie Anderson to the wide receiver room. Him, Kajaya Holloway, and Rymir Hardy can be a solid trio with JoJo Bermudez.
I would bring back Tyler Matakovich, probably.
Kyle
Especially,
Matakevich.
yeah, especially to add to the linebacker room that lost both DJ Woodbury and Taquan King. Probably bringing them back in there. I know like they have Ty Davis and everything, but and Eric Stewart, but putting him in that room would bolster that a lot.
I'm bringing back Joe Klecko. I'm going to go old school. I'm going to bring back the guy from Chester, PA, that was playing semi-pro football, was driving a truck, and just scared the living crap out of people because he was tough. Throw him in the middle of the line, see what happens. The guy that was a great Temple football player, Temple's first and only player to get into the NFL Hall of Fame, was later part of the sack exchange with Mark Gastineau, Marty Lyons, that group. I'm bringing back Joe Kleck. I'm going to go old school. So we've got
Joke's on you. You just added an ineligible player to the roster. He played semi-pro football. All you've done is bring controversy to this roster.
All right, well, then we'll bring back Dan Klecko, his son, who is also a very good player.
But like to that point, like I do think like a dominant defensive line,
Yeah.
even if it's Hassan Reddick, if it's like
Yeah.
somebody that's like just an edge rusher, if you have that true like this guy, you need to game plan around this dude. It opens up everything else for the defense, and it's something that Temple hasn't had since. I guess Maihei, like having that 1 year was pretty good, but like otherwise, it's been since like Quincy Roche. Like they haven't had that true dominant defensive lineman in a while.
Just heard from the NCAA, they're going to allow Joe Klecko to play. So
they're like, he's 70 years old. If he can get out there, go to town.
I think
the NCAA like actually for once responds very quickly. And like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do what you want, man.
Third and final question here from the screen name Berkshire Al from our basketball message board. I saw some pictures of the basketball players in the weight room, and a number of them look like there's an increase in the weight training. I guess you meant to say regimen here. Is that the case, or is it just the fact that there are more older players? I think that going back to Aaron McKee and through on to Adam, I think they've been happy with the weight training regimen. I mean, they say great things about Alan Son. I mean, they are an older team. Yeah, there are a few people who are like, wow, these guys look jacked up. They look really strong. There's that picture of Darian Ford looking strong. So, yeah, they have an older team. Cam Wallace is the youngest guy. Well, Cam Wallace and Ayuba Bryant. But, yeah, you've got some guys that are in their, approaching their mid-20s. But I also don't want to deny the strength staff of any due credit there. I think that, several seasons ago, they saw that as a weakness in the program. They've upgraded the weight room, so they've made a lot of progress there. But yeah, you've got, we hear it all the time. Coaches say, I want to get old and stay old. So you do have some older players, but I think that has been a strength of the program for the past several seasons.
In addition to that, I think there's two other things. One, yeah, like they're probably a little bigger. Like I'd caution to put too much weight into the listed weights on rosters, but like Aiden Tobiason's listed 5 pounds heavier. Babatunde Dorodola is listed 15 pounds heavier. So I think part of it is they are bigger. The other thing is I think the last time you saw these guys was at the end of a 5-month season. These guys are never football, basketball, any college sport. They're never their heaviest at the end of the year. Like it's hard to keep that weight on during the year. They're just trying to stay in game shape. They were probably a little lighter was last time you saw them. Now they've spent 4 months lifting weights. They're going to be bigger when the season starts and slowly get smaller. But yeah, also there's like some 24-year-olds on this team. So
yeah,
I don't know about you, but I get stronger every year.
Colin loves this question because right before we started recording, I said he had wet hair. I said he freshly out of the shower. He's like, yeah, I just got back from the gym. It is what it is. He's drinking his core power shake. So
I don't know why you keep harping on him about this.
Yeah, it just cracked me up. A little callback.
Colin's fitness first.
The training regimen of Darian Ford there to reach my gym goals. I think that's what I need. I want to know what Darian Ford does to work out.
Yeah.
He looks like he would use me as a toothpick. Like he genuinely has muscles for muscles. Like I was like, Jesus. Because I was like, how am I gonna be able to like talk with him like come winter time? I'm like looking at him like, sir, please don't eat me. Like
I think he's a very nice person. I don't think he's going to use you as a toothpick, but yeah, if he does,
how do I know that? Well,
you're right. You technically don't. If he does, it's going to be great scoop content, though. Look at it that way.
Yeah, the in memoriam episode where like we like just rehash, like it'll be a bit of a roast. We'll roast you like in memory of you. That'll be an all timer.
We'll bring Johnny and Declan back for
Johnny will just get like too mean with it.
Yeah, he will.
Like, the roast will be like it's supposed to be mostly based out of love. Johnny will just be like pent up aggression.
Johnny will show up just ripping cigs and be like, I've been waiting for this my whole life.
Johnny ever listens to an episode again, he's gonna be like, why are they still talking about me?
Yeah. I didn't get what I wanted out of the trade deadline, so I'm going to take it out on Jay.
They were fine.
I know. Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, it's whatever. Harrison Bader's a platoon guy, but it's fine.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for the first episode of season 11. Thanks for joining us. We'll have a lot more for you next week as we get another week into preseason camp. Keep the mailbag questions coming. Maybe we'll talk some more Air Bud next week.
Do a live watch. Like, we watch it together. React.
A live watch of Air Bud. Who's to say that's not going to be a great podcast? Anyway, thanks again for sticking with us for another episode, and we will talk to you next week.